Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's December 26th, and if you can't tell, I am actually in Hawaii right now, just south of Hilo, Hawaii, getting some practice in on my road setup here, because when I go storm chasing here for a couple weeks at a time, off in the plains, I still like to do my daily videos here, so this is good practice. But take a look here at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see the next storm off the coastline there. I can show you my mouse on the screen here as well. There's the Hawaiian Islands, there's Washington State up here, and there is our storm system. It's going to pull some strong winds through the area, and it's going to bring some strong winds across some of the areas, even towards the interior as well. Some precipitation. This is generating large waves as well. We're going to have some chaotic surf in the surf zone out there, some big wave activity. So hopefully everybody going out to the coastline to do some wave watching is going to keep that in the back of their mind. You know, every year people get swept out into the waves here, so let's try to keep any of that action to a minimum for sure. And we've got some wind advisories here for some gap winds coming through in western Washington. We got some winter weather advisories, and of course we're going to have big surf off and on here over the next week at least. Taking a look at a wider view of things here, we actually have some high wind warnings here for some of northeast Oregon here as well, and some of southern Oregon also, with the storm system moving towards the coastline here. And again, big waves up and down the coastline. We do have a couple winter weather advisories across eastern Washington, Idaho Panhandle, and some of western, southwestern Idaho also. So this is a good graphic here from Medford, Oregon here. Dangerous beach conditions here. You can see this Monday through Thursday, large breaking waves that'll coincide with some of the king tides and some higher than normal water levels. So really be careful if you are out and about across the ocean areas here through the next week at least. And this is looking at the Gulf of Alaska, and you can see the waves that the storm system that moved through yesterday generated there off Vancouver Island, the Washington, Oregon coast, elevated wave heights, and we get a tiny bit of a relaxation period there, and then we bring another huge, a big time wave action coming towards the coastline here as we go on in through what is this Wednesday afternoon. Here we go on into Thursday morning, and you can see we are really going to be churning that water up off our coastline for sure. So heads up for that. Nice beach watching here for those of you guys like stormy waves, but it can be extremely dangerous. So do not get too close and never turn your back on the ocean. Now taking a look at 80-meter wind speeds, you see that storm approaching the coastline. You can kind of see how its axis is orientated to bring some of these easterly winds here through the gaps. Gorge down here, Washington, Oregon border, Stampede Gap up here as well. And it's going to bring some strong winds across the Blue Mountains, Oregon as well as the northwest interior of Washington, and across some of the coastline, Vancouver Island also. Put that into motion, and you can see those winds pick up. Here we're now in through Tuesday evening and the nighttime hours here, and the winds continue on into early morning Wednesday. Look at that southwest Oregon coast, getting a nice shot of wind, and the Blue Mountains in Oregon, and then kind of keeping those strong winds going as we go on all the way into the day Wednesday. Check out the northwest interior, some of the coastal areas gusting, Vancouver Island as well, as we go into Wednesday night shown here, and that storm system continues to trek up all the way through Thursday morning before the gradient finally starts to relax. And there's going to be another storm system, but this one's going to be a bit weaker in here. It's going to be dying by the time it gets towards the Pacific Northwest. Some of that energy is going to be moving down towards California. Taking a look at the accumulated max 10-meter wind gusts, I'm not going to show the NAM3 cam. It's really been overdoing wind speeds. I'm not sure what's going on with the model right now, but the European has been doing better. And you can see some pretty significant wind gusts though, up towards, maybe the North Bend area, Enumclaw, with this next system rolling in here, the Columbia Gorge, the Blue Mountains, as you see, some of the coastal areas, especially southwest Oregon, northwest interior, gusting mid-40s potentially here in Vancouver Island. Check it out up there. Some nice wind gusts, could be approaching 55, 60 miles per hour on some of the coastal areas out. Great storm watching, huge winds and huge waves. I mean, if you have a chance to get up there, or if you just happen to be out there, I know it is pretty sparsely populated, but it should be very interesting storm watching activity. And here's those strong winds expected there out there. That does include Pendleton, Oregon, and you can see some gusts to 60 miles per hour possible. It does include Interstate 84. And this is that storm that moved through yesterday. You can see that strong pressure gradient, about some gusty winds out there. I think Bellingham hit 49 miles per hour. But our next storm system's off to the bottom right, or bottom left here. And there it goes. And it's going to tighten that gradient up again and bring some strong winds across the region once again as we go on in through Thursday, weakening on Thursday. And you can see that next system kind of falling apart as it approaches the Pacific Northwest. A lot of that energy moving down into California most likely. Now, taking a look at the European, this is actually hot off the presses. Actually, no, this is the 6Z run. We'll look at the 12Z here for some information here in a moment. But I want to show you that. There goes our system. Then the next one is wrapping up offshore here. And it does bring some precipitation. I wouldn't even rule out a thunderstorm here for some of the coastal areas. But you can see that precipitation coming around. And then you see the next system that'll be falling apart as we go towards this weekend. But it still could bring another round of precipitation here for the Pacific Northwest. Now, taking a look at lightning flash density potential. So here goes our storm, and you can kind of see it showing a little bit, showing up on the coastline there. So I wouldn't rule out a lightning strike or two, maybe at Vancouver Island up and down the Washington, Oregon coast, but nothing too extreme. Here's 24-hour running precipitation total. So that was from last night's run, and here we go. We start to bring in this precipitation as we go through the 27th on Wednesday, and then you can see, you know, what is Seattle getting? About another 3,700 of an inch of rain there. Bigger amounts along the coast. Vancouver Island, Western BC, definitely targeted here as well. And we scroll on through in towards the weekend, and then a system tries to bring a little precip. Not much getting in here across the area, but you know, Vancouver Island and Western BC might be getting some better amounts compared to Western Washington and Western Oregon. So here's the 100-meter wind speeds, and I want to show you a wider view of things here. This is the European. This one is hot off the presses here. So if we put this into motion, you can see that frontal system approach, and so those east winds, they're really picking up across the gorge area, Stampede Gap, and coastal areas, some nice southeast component to some of those winds. Blue Mountains out there, and then the northwest interior and Vancouver Island are going to be highlighted for some stronger winds as well as we go on in through Wednesday night. Then we start to relax things as we go through Thursday. Now, taking a look at the NAM 3KM, let's take a look at what the Doppler radar should look like. So as we go through, this is through the day today, afternoon, you can see some of that rain starting to creep up the Washington, Oregon coastline here. And we go into the nighttime hours, and we scroll on ahead to Wednesday morning and Wednesday early afternoon. You see the frontal system pass. We got some cooler air behind that. And that's probably the best chance of thunderstorms here across some of the coastal areas as we go on in through Wednesday afternoon and evening. You see the showery nature kind of move across a lot of Vancouver Island, Washington, and Oregon there. Here's the total snow 10-to-1 ratio. This is in the European. This one is also hot off the presses here. And then here goes our system as we go on in through the day. Wednesday starts to bring a little bit of snowfall. Again, better amounts across Western BC. But we do pick up, you know, what is that, between 1 and 4 inches here across some of the Cascades. Not a huge snowmaker incoming, however. And this is looking at surface-based Cape. Just one more time looking at that thunderstorm potential. You can see as that storm moves in here, it does bring some of that instability towards the coastline here as we go on in through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Maybe get a lightning strike out of that. And here's the 6 to 10 days. So this goes through January 4th, and you can see the Pacific Northwest is below average. The signal is there, in California is kind of showing up above average right now. But, you know, I kind of take this with a grain of salt because we still have an active period potentially coming up here. And I'm going to show you that on the GFS starting now. This one is also hot off the presses, the 12Z GFS. And you can see we've got the Hawaiian Islands down here, and there's Washington State. We're looking at 18,000 feet, about 500 millibars. This is the next storm system now. It's going to be bringing our interesting weather and the big waves with it. And then this system kind of falling apart as it approaches the Pacific Northwest. A lot of that energy into California there. Looks like we get a little bit of a break. Still got some weak systems just off the coastline there. But what I've been watching here is we look like we're going to get a little bit more active here as we start to go into the new year. You can see the Gulf of Alaska trough continue to get churning there. And we've got some stronger systems starting to show up here as we go on in through the first week of January. But we have to take that with a grain of salt. It's purely fantasy at this point. But yeah, interesting stuff there. It's a little bit different doing it in the car here. I don't have as much control as what I want to show you guys on the forecast here. But still, I think I'm getting the point across, keeping everybody up to date here. Let me know how you guys are liking these videos. Any improvements, send them my way. Yeah, it's kind of tricky here where the audio is not going to be as good and the lighting is not going to be as good. But hopefully you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.